let's talk about a classic challenge in Java, sorting your own objects. We're going to break down the two main ways to get this done by looking at the comparable and comparator interfaces.
So, picture this. You've got a list of objects. Maybe it's a list of users, maybe it's products, and you need to sort them. But sometimes you need to sort them by their ID, and other times by their name, and maybe even sometimes by date. How do you handle all these different sorting rules without your code turning into a complete mess?
And really, it all comes down to one big design question. Should an object fundamentally know how to sort itself, or should the sorting rules be something you apply from the outside? In this explainer, we're going to make sure you walk away knowing the clear difference between these two approaches and exactly when to use each one.
Okay, so let's get into it. First, let's set the stage with a problem that, trust me, every single Java developer runs into.
Let's imagine we're building an app and we've got this really simple student class. It's just a basic data holder, you know, a POJO. All it has is an ID and a name. Simple enough. We can make a list of these student objects, no problem. But the real challenge is what comes next.
The second you try to sort that list using Collections.sort, bam, it all falls apart. The compiler is going to yell at you because, well, Java has absolutely no idea how to compare one student to another. Should it use the ID, the name? It just doesn't know, so it gives up.
So how do we fix this? Well, we need to give Java a little hint, right? We need to tell it how to sort. And our first stop on this journey is the comparable interface.
Think of comparable as defining the one single natural ordering for your class. It's like an intrinsic part of the object's identity. By using this interface, you're basically saying, hey, by default, if you ever need to sort me, this is how you do it.
So what does that look like? Well, we make our student class implement the comparable interface, and then we provide the logic inside this one special method, compareTo. Right here, we're telling it to sort based on the student's ID. The logic is now built right into the student class itself. Now, this compareTo method has some very specific rules you have to follow. It has to return a negative number if the current object comes before the other one, a 0 if they're equal, and a positive number if it comes after. This is the signal the sorting algorithm uses to figure out where everything goes.
And boom, just like that, problem solved. Our call to Collections.sort now works perfectly because it can ask each student object how it compares to the others, and they all know the answer.
Okay, this is awesome, right? But wait a minute. We've just painted ourselves into a corner. Comparable gives us one way to sort, that natural order. What happens when the business folks come back and say, great, now sort them by name? We can't have two compareTo methods. This limitation is exactly why we need another tool in our toolbox. And that problem right there is exactly why we have our second solution, the much more flexible comparator. So unlike comparable, which lives inside the class, a comparator is totally external. Think of it like a hired expert for sorting. Its entire job is to compare two other objects. This is fantastic because it keeps the sorting logic completely separate from our actual data objects.
So, check this out. We create a whole new class, we'll call it nameComparator, and its only job in life is to compare two student objects by their name. And notice the most important part. Our original student class is completely untouched. It doesn't even know this comparator exists.
And using it is super easy. You just go back to that Collections.sort method, but this time you pass in an instance of our nameComparator as a second argument. This tells the sort method, hey, forget that natural order stuff, use this logic instead. And we can create as many of these comparators as we need. Okay, but here's where things get really cool, especially with modern Java. Because the comparator interface only has that one method we need to implement, it's what we call a functional interface.
And because of that, we can ditch writing that whole separate class file. Look at this one line of code. Using a static helper method like Comparator.comparing, along with a method reference, we do the exact same thing as that entire class we just wrote. It's way more concise, easier to read, and just better.
All right, so we've looked at both of them in action. Let's do a quick head-to-head, a final showdown, to really lock in the differences between them.
This table lays it all out perfectly. You've got comparable over here, comparator over there. You can see the different packages, the different method names, but the really big takeaways are the last three rows. Logic location, inside versus outside, sorting type, default versus custom, and number of sorts, single versus multiple. That's the whole story right there.
So the big question is, which one do you pick? It's not about one being better than the other. It's about picking the right tool for the specific job you're doing.
So you're going to want to reach for comparable when there is one single, obvious, natural way to sort your objects, like sorting people by social security number or products by a unique product ID. It's for the default case, and of course, you can only do it if you can actually change the code for that class.
And then you've got Comparator. This is your go-to for pretty much everything else. Anytime you need multiple ways to sort, by name, by date, by price, you need a comparator. And this is a big one. It's your only option if you're trying to sort objects from a library where you can't touch the source code.
Okay, and before we wrap up, here's a super important pro tip. You will see code everywhere that uses simple subtraction to compare integers, just like we did in our first example. Do not do this. It seems clever, but it's a ticking time bomb. If you have a really big positive number and a really big negative number, the subtraction can actually overflow and you'll get the wrong result. The safe, correct way is to always use Integer.compare.
So, I'll leave you with this question to think about the next time you're coding. Is sorting a fundamental part of what your object is, an intrinsic property, or is it an external action that you perform on it? Answering that question will almost always point you to the right choice between comparable and comparator.